Man, I'm beat. It's another long day of hard work. Man, what should I do next? Well, I think I deserve a little bit of scroll time. Let's see what's going on TikTok right now. Need help.
I will start with these.
Watching House of Dragons.
Okay, that post made me a little bit uncomfortable. Should I block them? Wait, no. I don't want to seem like I'm jealous of their love. I mean, everyone deserves love. They just express it in a different way. I'll just leave it alone. Let's go and see what's next.
It's not nice to call someone racist. We throw that word out to white people so much. It's like, really, it's really not nice.
Okay, I really don't agree with this person's viewpoint on being racist and everything like that. Maybe I should block them. But wait, no, I gotta be open to other people's opinions, even if they're particularly harmful. Well, I guess it's fine. I'll just leave it alone. It's not that bad. It's not like the comment section is full of racists. Let's just keep scrolling.
Transgenderism should be eradicated from public life entirely.
What does transgenderism in public look like to you?
I can't stand when Jubilee clips make their way onto my For You page. I just... Calm down, Cuddle. It's fine. It's fine. We have to have discussions with these people in order to get them to change their minds. That's always the way things have been done. It's fine. I can't block them every time they say something I disagree with. It's fine. That's enough of TikTok. Let me go check the comment section on my recent YouTube video. All right, let's just go search on Google real quick. Let's type in youtube.com. Alrighty, here we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and look at my creators tab and just look at the recent comments on my overconsumption video. There's bound to be some wholesome comments there, right? Right? Just do a little bit of filtering here and... Palestine boycott and pronouns? Yeah, I'm not trusting you to do research on any subject. Pressing the don't recommend this channel to me button 1,000 times. And you're an adult making childish remarks. I mean, at least you don't delete comments. That's different from what other leftists do. Checking mic 1 2. Is this thing on? Is this thing working? Hello, my name is Cuddle and I love blocking people. Hi, welcome to the series where I rant about whatever is on my mind today because I have a big mouth. I like to yap about things I care about or like or just are on my mind with no particular end goal other than to start discussion. In today's subject, we're going to stir the pot a little bit. We're going to get a bit controversial. We're going to talk about the act of blocking people on social media and why me, think it's actually a good thing. I think it's fine to block people on the internet all of the time. I do it 24/7, 365. Like, I love blocking people. And to some people that might be controversial, like blocking people. How can you do that? But we're going to talk about today why in particular I think it's a good thing and what has led me up to this way of thinking and why I think you in particular, if you're not giving yourself grace on blocking people or looking for solutions to sometimes like issues you might be having, feeling down about yourself and stuff like that based on what another person in another state has to say to you or another country has to say to you. I'm going to tell you why this action is not as big as a deal as you think it may be, or why it's okay to do it in certain instances. And I think now more than ever, maybe this video is kind of needed because we have a really bad problem with, particularly in like spaces like politics or like, things like cancel culture and, drama on the internet. We have this really bad habit of going back and forth with people who really don't give a damn about you in real life, wasting a bunch of time and precious hours of productivity just to make a point to somebody else across the state that most likely is not going to matter in the next 10 seconds. Like, we waste a lot of time and energy and put a lot of oomph into like arguing with all of these people that could simply be solved by the simple action of just clicking one button, going up to the top of the settings and clicking one button. It's crazy. ellipses. It exists. The block button exists for a reason, and I'm going to explain to you. It feels draining to kind of say this every video, but I'm going to do it just to, give a few warnings as to what this series entails and everything. If you're new, if you, the viewer, are watching and don't agree with any of the points that I'm making in this video, or you don't think I'm making any sense, or like, we just have opposing opinions. Like, if you don't like this video even, that's fine. I'm not saying you got to agree with everything I'm going to say, and I'm not saying that like my video is perfect, pristine and stuff like that. I'm also not a drama channel. I do not engage in I engage in things that I find interesting, but I'm not going to go in depth and do research on so and so and stuff like that. I'm just a girl with thoughts. It's called a rant for a reason. It's called Let's Rant with Kilda for a reason. Because I rant, I share my thoughts, you tell me what you think. If you don't agree, that's fine. If you do agree, more power to you. You can subscribe down there. But this is a rant. This is me blowing off some steam, talking about things that I care about and are interesting to me, and they're my opinions. You don't have to agree with these opinions. That's perfectly fine. You can click off the video, you can leave a comment saying, maybe, I don't know, I don't particularly agree. The only thing I ask is that you're friendly, okay? And this kind of like goes into the theme that I'm going to talk about today with blocking people, because let me tell you, I've gotten some comments that are unwarranted and I don't have to listen to. So I just give these disclaimers so people know what they're in for, because these are my thoughts and I'm not going to apologize for them. If you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you know what the block button's purpose is and why we have it and what it actually is. But if somehow, you a boomer, you stumbled on this video and you're like, what's blocking people? I shall explain. So, the block button. It's pretty much on most social medias, so like YouTube, Instagram, X, or Twitter. Like it's on a bunch of different social media platforms like Facebook, whatever you can think of. And basically, it is a feature that allows you to essentially bar or remove somebody from your page for any opposed reason, so they don't have contact with you. So I actually never looked up what like the textbook definition is of like why we have this feature in the first place. Like, why are we allowed to block people and everything? But I think everybody, I feel like it's common knowledge, or like, common sense, that we have the block button, at least what we know is common. We have the block button to basically keep people from having access to us, if that makes sense. So it's supposed to prevent things such as harassment on social media pages and stuff like that, or to just like, filter off your feed, curate like a feed that you want, and so that content that you don't like isn't like showing up for you and stuff like that. Like it's kind of to filter. But I feel like there's a bunch of valid reasons, at least for me personally, and what I've seen throughout my years on the internet and stuff like that, which has been a long time. Okay, trust me. I think there's a lot of reasons why people block other people, and it's not always done just kind of like out of spite, or like, how people think it's been kind of like stigmatized to be now, especially since we have access to like influencers and drama channels and the rise of things like cancel culture. And you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think the block button has always not served some kind of purpose. Sometimes I block people simply because I don't like their content, or I don't like things that they are putting out. And that doesn't mean in particular that like because I dislike your content, you're like a bad person. It just means I'm not interested in some cases. Now, for me personally, there's like levels to my dislike. So typically the content that I'm blocking that I dislike, it can sometimes range from like petty reasons. Like, I think there was one person that I blocked in particular because I saw a video of like this like coagulated like mac and cheese, and it looked so gross, and they were like showing it off on their page and everything. And like, everybody in the comments was kind of dogging on them, which I was like, all right, chill, chill, chill. But like, I thought it looked so nasty, and it was the fact that they were not acting, but like they thought it looked so good to share. And I was like, the fact that my eyes had to witness this, I don't, and it's dramatic, I know, but like the fact that my eyes had to witness this, I was like, I don't like that. Why am I forcing myself to like look at this and stuff like that on my page? And I don't want to get more content like this. So what did I do? Which is petty. I block them, okay? Like, it can range from like petty reasons like that, where it's not particularly like the person and stuff like that or whatever. It's just content I just don't like. It gives me like the I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. So I just block it. Then there comes like the second level of it, which is like, I dislike it because this person is acting mean or is acting a certain way that I don't align with, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. That's like really weird. Like either like they're like a mean girl, or like the stuff that they do is like maybe they have a take in particular that I just don't agree with and stuff. And it ranges. Sometimes they could be objectively a bad person based on the things that I'm saying that I'm like, ooh, I dislike what you said. To it can range from that to like, oh, like you may not be a bad person, but I just didn't agree with that take, and we probably would not get along in like real life or something. So I'm gonna do what I do to every stranger that I come across, that I don't like hearing what they say to their kid or something like that in the grocery store, or like when I overhear a conversation, I just ignore. I look the other way, and I do a in real life block. I mentally block it out of my mind. I just walk away. I think there was one video of a girl who was, I think they were, I'll refer to them as they to be neutral, but they were talking about like trinkets and like tchotchkes, like, you know, like cute little Sanrio, like, you know, it doesn't even have to be Sanrio, you know, like calico critters, and how like they have like little trinkets and things like that. Yeah, like things like this. They were talking about how like trinket collecting is like really big right now, and I remember them like dogging on the fact that people like calico critters, and they're getting their trinkets and tchotchkes from like places like Urban Outfitters and like things like that, because traditionally trinkets have been found and stuff like that. Like it's a thing you collect over time. It's not just something you buy at a store, and like, you know, sometimes it's like pre-loved things. It's things that you were gifted or like you find one time, and like you're like, oh, this is really cute, and it has like wear and tear to it. Traditionally, that's how it is. And this person was getting on the fact that, like, you know, people are like buying, I think what they were trying to say is they were buying their way into an aesthetic or something like that. And since it's so popular, like, you know, people like kind of infiltrate those spaces, kind of like, you know, how like certain fashion cultures, like how being like goth or alternative is like, or being punk even is a really good example, like how people are kind of infiltrating it and trying to buy into it, the aesthetic, without understanding or like really grasping the meaning of it. They were just like really hounding on it, like they're like, I'm the official trinket tchotchke collector, okay, what you guys are getting is garbage. And I was like,
Girl, shut the fuck up.
look, I entertain those arguments. I do. But I looked both ways, and I was like, you know, was it that serious? Like, I had to think to myself, I was like, is it that serious that, like, you don't like trinkets and tchotchkes or whatever that are bought? Like, it doesn't change anything, like, that you brought something. Like, how you get a tchotchke in the first place is somebody has to buy it, right? Somebody's got to put out their wallet, right? So the fact that they were like ragging on the fact and almost acting like they were better than somebody else because they had these little trinkets, and like, you know, ooh, look at me, this is pre-loved, and like, you know, acting like they're better or like higher up than somebody else. And I was like, okay, I thought to myself, maybe you're not a bad person, but I don't agree with that. And I think you're acting like a little bit kind of like elitist girl. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I just thought it was weird. And so I wanted to comment so bad. I'll get into this subject later on, but I get sometimes where I see a video and I dislike it and I want to comment. And that's when I think to myself, do I comment or do I just block the thing I simply don't like? We'll get into that later. But I blocked them because I was like, that's weird. That's a weird opinion. And it's like I said, it's like, you know, like if a stranger said that to me in real life, I'd just be like, you're weird. Like, not you're weird, but like, that take was kind of weird. I don't really like that. I don't really agree with that. And I just move on with my day. Like, you know, I don't talk to them or whatever. I move on to the things that, like, you know, like we get into things like politics and like, you know, genuine, like spewing certain types of rhetoric and like agendas that don't align with who I am. Like, you know the girl that's like, oh, I could never abort my precious fetus. I could never do that. I'm not gonna shame you. That's your life and stuff like that. but I don't agree with it. And I don't agree with other people trying to infringe upon that. So what do? I block. I think you a little weird if you try to infringe on that, you know? It's called pro-choice for a reason. You get a choice, okay? So, sounds silly. And then there's the top tier dislike category of seeing content I don't like, which is you are just factually incorrect. You are just ignorant. Like you're bigoted, like I objectively based on the evidence that you're giving me, I think you're a bad person and now I need to block you because I don't align with your views. I wouldn't align with them in real life. And what is the point of talking to you if you're not even going to listen to a thing I say or don't even see me as a human being? Things like that. I save that for the top category. Or people that I just genuinely dislike in society. People who act a certain way and are proud in it and stuff like that. That I save for the top tier, like content I dislike. I'm just like, block, boom, drop a deuce on you. Like, I don't want to interact with you. The reason I block people is I don't want to engage in content that is particularly problematic or something like that. Things that make me uncomfortable or like problematic people. It doesn't even always have to be content. Sometimes it's problematic people. Good example, James Charles. I block him on everything. And the reason why is I feel I don't want to. I'm not a drama channel. I'm not going to rehash the controversy. If you want to know why I don't like James Charles and stuff like that, all you have to do is do a couple of Google searches and like figure out that he kind of likes to talk to underage boys. I feel like people do certain things in society that is a little bit irredeemable for me, and I don't want to support your content anymore. I don't, it's something right in my stomach, don't agree with it. So I don't really like engaging in content that is inherently problematic or people that have been in certain controversies to the point where I think it conflicts with my morality. And I'm like, okay, I don't really like support you. Like, I just kind of want you to like, go to the back burner. It's like, when like you meet somebody or whatever that has wronged maybe like somebody else and like you're like has like wronged you in some way and you don't really particularly like that person because of that, and then you have like a certain idea of them, and no matter how much maybe they change and like they become a great person and stuff, you're always going to remember them for like how they made you feel and everything. That's kind of how I treat it. Like that's kind of how I treat it. Rage bait and trolling. Look, I love a good joke, okay? If you don't know what rage baiting and trolling is, it's basically trying to like, it's reactionary content. So basically, maybe somebody says something maybe a little bit like inflammatory or shocking or something like that. And the whole goal is to, it's like a joke. It's in quotation marks. The whole point of doing it is to kind of get you to engage, to like get back at them and stuff like that, or like, reply back to them or like comment at them and everything. But I think now more than ever, like trolling and like rage bait as they call it, I think it's treaded into a territory that's like irritating. Like, like the example I gave earlier of the coagulated mac and cheese. Maybe that person knew that mac and cheese didn't look good. It might be wishful thinking, but maybe they knew it didn't look good, but they wanted some engagement. Uh, that's the kind of trolling. Like, I'm particularly like, okay, not too bad. I'ma still block you, but not too bad. Like, I get it. Or like maybe the Duolingo owl, like faking their death or something. Like trolling used to be like, oh, I like pineapples on pizza, and what are you gonna do about it? It used to be, I put my milk in before my cereal. Like weird things that are like, ugh, it makes you cringe. You're like, I would never do that. Like, like you're trolling. Like, you're getting a reaction out of people, and typically it's harmless in most instances. It's not, meant to provoke some type of like mean spiritedness from people. What's a good example of rage bait? It's gonna be controversial, but maybe like fucking How To Basic. You remember that channel, that stuff that like, they just like waste a bunch of food and like slam it on the ground and stuff like that. I know a lot of people who are like we're like, what the H? One, it's shock content, and then I also would argue it's rage bait because a lot of people obviously are very conscious of like waste and things like that, and they're like, how can you do that? Like, why would you do, like, and the whole point is to make you mad. So arguably I think How To Basic was a rage bait channel, but then I think it treads into territory where we're actually starting to do like offensive things. We're starting to offend people. I think that like rage bait has gotten to a point where it's like, women don't deserve rights. Like we control your bodies. Like it's harmful. That's a harmful ideology. Like at least if you have a brain, I hope you know that's a harmful ideology. Like like things like that, or like saying like what was that one dude that like tried to defend the one like Euphoria like foundation controversy, that one Asian guy who like I don't know, like shaved his butthole on camera on YouTube, and they like kept it up for a couple of days. I'll try to put a picture up or like a video or whatever. This dude like defended the fact that he was like, I don't know why black people are so mad about like a foundation that totally doesn't even match their skin. I mean, look at that. Things like that. That's harmful. Like, like and something's wrong with him. You really got attention issues, dude. Like, something's wrong with you. But like things like that, that's harmful. It's not helping anybody. It helps people like, and if anything, it like boosts people's like bravery to say things like that, and like conduct like engage in like harmful behavior and ideologies, and think it translates well in real life or like in like real social situations. I know an example of a troll I really like he's funny. I really like him. Primink. I think Primink is maybe like one of the funniest. Like he's just so awkward and like real, and it's just so relatable and funny that I'm just like, dude, like you're a funny ass troll. Like, on to the next subject. Here's one that really hits close to home. Being a keyboard warrior and comment threads. I feel like everybody at some point, if you are chronically online, you've engaged on like you've in some way, shape, or form have engaged in like a thread argument. There's no way, or you have at least seen one. I know you have to if you're chronically online. But basically, it's when you go back and forth with somebody who essentially doesn't agree with you. And sometimes it can be on like the most trivial things. Like, I bet you 9 times out of 10, this is a fun little game. Let's play a game. If you can go on just any post, like any really popular, like maybe like a meme post or something like that. And it has like, let's say like, let's start at like maybe like 1,000 comments. I guarantee you will find at least one thread, and it could be something as innocent as maybe like Hello Kitty, or like, like just a joke, a meme, or something like that. And you will find somebody who says something, and a person replies, and the whole way the argument is started is somebody saying, "But who asked you? Who cares?" Like, and that's how it starts, and then you go back and forth with the person, and then you're getting the person mad, and they're like, huh, boo, who are you, and stuff like that, and they're like, I don't care what you think, boo boo, and then they leave like the kissing emoji, like hunty, I don't care I don't care what you think about me and stuff like that. You're stupid, or like you're ugly, or like it just gets really bad. Like, I at one point, here's a good example. I got into it with somebody who, it was over grapes, like the fruit, and like I'm just like, what am I living in right now? So there was this whole post. It was just a post of somebody posting like a healthier alternative to Sour Patch Kids, which was just them getting grapes and covering them in like some type of sour sugar or something like that. They were just shaking it up in the bag and like put it out, and they're like, healthy alternative to like Sour Patch Kids. I'm not gonna argue semantics with you and stuff like that. Okay, I'm not a dietitian, whatever, and stuff like that. Some people, the comment section was split. Some people were like, some people were like, "Ooh, this looks like really good" and stuff like that. Like, because what? It's a food post. Like, you're supposed to think this stuff looks good. Like, that's the main focus, is the fact that this looks good, and it's an alternative for some people, right? No, some people were focused on arguing the semantics of whether or not these grapes are actually like healthier than just eating a pack of Sour Patch Kids. I'm not a dietitian. I don't care. Okay. I would personally rather eat that. I love grapes. They're my favorite fruit. I would personally rather eat crunchy green grapes with sugar on them than I would Sour Patch Kids. It's just how I am. Okay. Now, the next person over would argue, no, it's not. It's actually not a healthier version. Don't call it that, because it's not that. You're better off eating a package of Sour Patch Kids. Don't call it healthier. And then from there it would just start. Somebody replies, no, it is like they're just saying it's healthier. Like it's not saying that, like, it's like the best thing in the world, but it's an alternative to it. And the other person will be like, no, don't call it healthier and stuff like that, it's loaded in sugar and da-da. And it's like, have we lost the plot? What was the main purpose of posting this? To give people an alternative and to give people, like, a new, like a new option, something different. The whole focus was the food, and the food looked good. And then you'll have somebody comment like about how healthy it is. Like they're more focused on the fact that somebody used the term healthier than the food in the video. It's like when people go onto like junk food like pages and stuff like that, or like foods like pages of people who are like cooks and like are typically known, I'll put a good example of, typically known for making like fatty kind of foods and stuff like that, stuff that clearly isn't healthy. And they'll be like, but what about me? But that's actually like really unhealthy. Like, why do you make such unhealthy stuff? And da 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 da. And it's like, dude, like, it's like this entitlement. It's this entitlement to like being heard or like having your opinion. And I can't say, like, you can't say anything to me because it's my opinion and I'm just like, I'm right. Like they feel the need to be right all the time. So this one girl commented and she was saying like calling like people the F word and like stuff like that. Like just being overall like mean. Like I can't imagine this conversation taking place in person with a person in front of me. Like imagine arguing with somebody. Like whenever you enter these kinds of situations, I need like a comment thread. I need you to ask yourself, are you going to engage in this type of discourse with somebody in real life? Like face to face in a room? Would you engage with that kind of behavior or that kind of conversation? I wouldn't personally. So like imagine my surprise when I'm looking at this girl and she's telling people F you, it's not healthier, you're wrong, this and that. Just going back and forth with people, and I was like, girl, my stupid mind was like, instead of just blocking the person, was like, hey girl, they just said it's healthier. They didn't say it's better than sour patch. They said slightly healthier. It's grapes. It's grapes. And this girl told me to go. She said, suck my. I looked on her page and she looks like somebody who would go to my former college. I was like, are you serious? You're over here arguing about grapes. And she was like, oh, I don't really care. I have a job. I had to block because what? Like, girl, it's stupid. I just can't imagine having that conversation with somebody. But here I am wasting my time having that conversation with somebody over the internet. And I'm like, oh my God. Look, those comment sections be getting ugly. And you really start to see how like vitriolic and mean people can be simply because the internet it's essentially anonymous, like you can't get held accountable for like all the things that you say on the internet because there is like a level of anonymity to it, to the point where you could scroll for hours and not find maybe like somebody being held accountable for saying the n-word or something like that, even though the video got like reposted 1,000 times. Like what sucks is sometimes not all the bad guys get held accountable for the things that they say. And it really just goes to show, like in things like stitches, like for instance on like TikTok, and like like engaging in like really like hateful like rhetoric and speech and stuff like that, and then telling the person like oh, you're wrong and you're this and you're that. Like you guys are some of the meanest people, myself included. I'm not like whatchamacallit to this standard, I'm not like above this standard, but we are like some really hateful people when it comes to being on the internet. And the fact that we don't see another person on the other side of the screen, it makes it easier to like dehumanize them in a way. It makes it easier to say all the things that you could say. It makes it easier to be like, "Oh, you ugly," or like, "Oh, you stupid," or like, because you don't have to live with the consequences of looking that person in the face and seeing another human on the other side of the screen. You can just sit there and be confident in the fact that you were right, and you were like, I was right in this situation that was so stupid and dumb, and I'm so moral," and like, like it's really stupid. And then it also kind of translates into like your own mood. Like you're like, ugh, like the stupid people on the internet. And like, those memes that are like, I just want to punch somebody through the screen. Like, not only is this person who you don't know, like affecting like, like the way you communicate and stuff like that on like social platforms and everything like that, which are full of real people, by the way. not only is it that, it's translating into your personal life, and you're getting worked up over someone that probably forgot about the conversation they were having 2 minutes ago or something like that by trolling you or making you engage with this content that you don't like or is problematic or like whatever. Like, it's now it's affecting your outside mood. And it's like, why am I wasting my time and my energy and my all thinking about this person that doesn't bring me joy? Not demure, not mindful at all. Like, so you tend to engage with this stuff and it's bad. Like, you don't want to do that. So what's the solution? I'm going to talk about when it comes to me personally blocking and stuff like that. And I hope these subjects like also like resonate with all of you guys. I'm thinking these are also like general reasons that people block one another and stuff. Not just me, but like, everybody. Uh Here's the worst one in my opinion. Constructive criticism versus moral grandstanding. And this is going to be the more controversial one of them all. I gotta take a deep breath before I say this. I don't know what it is about the internet and whether or not it increases people's entitlement and like the level of anonymity that people have on the internet just allows them to say whatever they want to and stuff like that. That probably plays a factor into it. Some people get this idea that simply because they have access to a computer and they have a right to their opinions and everything like that. I shouldn't have put that in quotation marks. They believe that because they have a right, a fundamental right as a human being to say whatever they want to say, or they have the ability to, that everything that they say needs to be said, no matter the person, no matter the time, no matter the circumstance, the background, whatever. They feel the need to say things that are just on their mind. And because they're a human being and they have the right to say something and they can say something, they will say it. And they think that because they say it and stuff like that, and because of this right, it can infringe on your right as a human being to internalize that and take it. Here's a good example. Let's say, for instance, the art community. The reason I don't engage particularly a lot with the art community and stuff like that is because the amount of controversies I've seen with you guys is insane. The art community on YouTube is insane. You got Spetchy, Solar Sands, like, even though I am sub to Solar Sands, like you guys are like, so like, even Illuminati at one point, like you guys are like so like hateful. Like, I don't know what it is, but like you guys just can't get enough. I think Just a Robot is one too, maybe like a controversial figure in the art community. Like, you guys, like, even in the animation space too, I'm gonna group y'all in here too. You guys got like some really serious drama, and I just be looking in the back like as an artist myself, and I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? But like, you know, the art community is the number one that's guilty of this. When somebody like puts out a picture, I'll put maybe like one of my pictures up or something like that, like an art picture up. And this is an example from my real life. Somebody posts their artwork and they're very proud of their artwork and stuff like that, and they're showing it off to other people. Typically, maybe the engagement's good, maybe it's like, meh, so maybe some people don't say anything, whatever. Then you get that one commenter, that one person that you didn't ask for and stuff like that, says to you, "Hey, buddy, I like your drawing. You did really good. But you know what would make it even better? Study anatomy, okay? Like, I just have like a few tips and tricks for you, like, if you're interested in stuff like that. Not to be a jerk, but like, maybe you should study a little bit of facial anatomy." I got this comment one time from posting this picture of Princess Peach because the person wanted to know why the hair was so big. They were like trying, like, and what pissed me off the most about it is like I engaged nicely with them and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." They kept commenting. They kept saying over and over, they were like, not to be a jerk, but why are the hands so like dingy and stuff like that? Mind you, I was like in high school or whatever. Like, I was just kind of getting back into the groove of things of drawing. Like, I was like 15, I think. I was like 15 years old, 14 going on 15. And I was redoing drawings that I had made when I was a kid. And this person just decided to comment about like the hair on Princess Peach and everything like that. And they try to hide, some people try to be sneaky and hide it under being like under I'm just giving constructive criticism. It's just my opinion. A lot of people like to hide under that as a means of keeping people from being offended by the fact that their opinion isn't very tasteful or you didn't ask for it in the moment. People on the internet love doing that. And at the time, again, I was nice to them and stuff like that, but there was a couple of people I remember commenting under, and they're like, girl, don't engage with the whatchamacallit, like, being like sly. They didn't reply to them exactly, but they're like, ignore it, your drawing looks fine and stuff like that. Like, they didn't ask for your unsolicited advice. And a lot of people I'm going to talk about more is people like to hide under the guise of constructive criticism or giving criticism and stuff like that, and simply because it's just their opinion and stuff like that, and they as a right have a right of passage to comment whatever they would like onto your video because they're the viewer. I'm entitled to it because I'm viewing your post. They act like they're doing you a favor. Like, I comment on whatever I see, and if you don't like it, maybe you shouldn't reply or something like that. Like, they try to like defend themselves or make it seem like you're crazy. For like anybody who's ever felt like that or something like that, whether it's our community, whatever, like controversy or something like that you've been in, where you've been in a situation like that, I would just want you to know you're so valid in your feelings and stuff like that of not wanting that person to talk to you or like comment something, right? The same way you wouldn't want somebody in real life or whatever to comment on like the way you look, for instance. It's not just an opinion. Sometimes opinions, like, just because it's an opinion does not always mean it's a valid opinion. Just because it's a criticism does not mean it is warranted. Just because you have the ability to say what you want does not mean you should. Okay? Consequences come with that. It's the way everything works and stuff like that. Every action has a reaction. And then you have the audacity to get mad at people or get upset with people and stuff like that because you decided to open your big fat mouth and say something that was mean, vitriolic, like something unwarranted. Like, you have the audacity to sit there and be like, "Oh, it's just my opinion. I just want to say what I think." No, you don't get that. You get the reaction. Cause and effect, baby. You're the cause, I'm the effect. That's how that shit works. This is how it works. So I just want to validate your feelings. If you've ever been in a scenario like that where somebody gives an unwarranted opinion to you, you're completely valid in blocking that person. You do not have to sit there and take whatever they say to you. It's not warranted. You didn't ask for it. And just because they hide under the guise of constructive criticism does not mean you have to take said constructive criticism. And in some cases, that constructive criticism isn't even constructive. Saying somebody's drawing is ugly simply because you don't like it is not constructive. It's your opinion and it's most likely wrong. Okay? Like, it's so stupid how people think that they're valid. Like, I don't know what it is about the internet specifically, but people think that they are so valid in saying whatever they want to say. Again, I think it's the anonymity part. They feel like they are entitled to engage with you. They feel like they are entitled to give their opinion and stuff like that, and that you're supposed to take it simply because you put yourself out there, and therefore you have to. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works, baby. Think about it in terms of real life. Are you really going to sit there and let somebody at an artist convention, at Artist Alley in front of you, sit there and be like, "Yeah, these keychains are really ugly"? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and like go like, are you going to sit there and like go back and forth with them and stuff like that, or like take that and like let them engage with you and have access to you and make you feel like you can't produce good art anymore, and like let somebody whose one opinion, who may not even be valid, like nobody's opinions are like the all end all be all, like, you're gonna let that one person engage with you and have like, their way with you, and you're just supposed to take it? No. What are you gonna do? You're gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, "I'm sorry, but like, I do not have to take this. I am going to call over security, and they're going to escort you out," or something like that. Like, you have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to say, "I don't want to engage with you, actually. I'm sorry. You're actually making me very uncomfortable. Please leave my table before I call security. Or I'm going to call security if you keep this act up. Stop it." Like, you don't have to engage with people who are going to actually like harass you. Like, you don't have to engage with that. And that's the whole example I kind of gave in my little skit earlier. That was a real comment I received. And what killed me was the fact that they felt entitled to have access to me and go back and forth with me over something so petty. It like, and then defend the fact that like, oh, you how are you going to be an adult, how are you going to be an adult and not take constructive criticism, how are, like, that's the thing, like, they think they're entitled. They think that like they are entitled to you listening to them. And I'm here to tell you, you're not. And it's like it makes me so angry. And if I get a comment on this video and stuff like that, trying to, this is for you. If you're offended, this is for you. Poof, like spit on you. Poof. You're not entitled to, nobody's entitled to listen to your opinion. It doesn't matter if you're on the internet, it doesn't matter if you're in real life. Just because you have the ability to say something does not mean I have to engage with it. Just because you have the ability to rob the bank doesn't mean you should rob the bank. Why? Because there's consequences with robbing the bank. Like, it makes sense. It just makes sense. Every action has a reaction. Like, and I don't know why that's so hard for people sometimes on the internet to understand. Like, you saying somebody is ugly and stuff like that and saying it's just my opinion, go say that to your mom. Go say that to your mom. What's your mom gonna do? Your mom's gonna slap you. You know why? Because every action has a reaction. Just because you can say something doesn't mean she has to take it. Just because you say something doesn't mean I have to take it. Like, I just hate that entitlement. With harmful ideologies in particular, really feel this entitlement, like this right to like infringe upon your right to listen. Not every opinion is worth listening to. Some ideologies and stuff like that, some ways that people live directly affect you and directly affect to maybe harming you and stuff like that, or influencing you in some way. You don't have to engage with that kind of rhetoric. My God, it's like I would never blame somebody at all for like not wanting to be friends with somebody who is like not aligned with like their political beliefs and stuff like that. We used to kind of live in a world where, no matter if you were like left or right or middle or whatever the frick you are, like, we used to kind of live in a society where that kind of thing wasn't a matter of human rights. And now, because that's in question, a lot of people have been disengaging with people who don't align particularly with their political beliefs, right? And I would not blame them. That's your human right. Like, you don't have to engage. You don't have to engage with somebody who's spewing like this harmful rhetoric. It's the same reason like I don't engage with like men, like feminism versus like men arguments. Like, those men already have made up in their minds that they do not see you as a human being. They don't think you have the right to your own bodily autonomy and stuff like that. Why would you argue with them? Why? Don't do that. Don't subject yourself to that. That's harmful. Like, there's a difference between somebody who actually wants to engage and like actually making change and like understanding where the next person is coming from. There's a difference between that and somebody who just thinks that they're right and just don't care what you have to say. You don't have to engage with that kind of thing. And what kills me is when some women talk about like how, like, I don't know, again, I'm not like I'm not a political like YouTuber commentator. Like, I'm not into that space. I'm just a girl with thoughts, okay? On things that I see. But it makes me mad when I see like particularly women on like right-leaning ideologies and stuff like that. They're like, oh, the left says that they're so forgiving and like, they're so accepting of people, but the moment you say that you just don't agree with like abortions and like, like the moment you say that you don't want to have an abortion and like things like that, they don't respect you. And like, and then like the other girls in the freaking like, in the cohort and the little circle will be like, yeah, you're so right, they say that they're accepting and everything. And then I sit there and question in my mind, I'm like, we didn't say that. Like, I think to myself, I'm like, did they say that? Because I don't think anybody really cared if you got an abortion. I think they cared the fact that you want to stop us from having an abortion. Isn't that a thought? Isn't that crazy? So no, I would not be kind and accepting to somebody who is not going to be kind and accepting to me back. It doesn't make any sense. What did you think this was? I'm supposed to be like kumbaya with you while you take down my rights? No, sister. No, sister. No. No, no, ma'am. No bueno. Like, that don't make no sense. Of course, they're not going to be nice to you. Of course, they're not going to be very accepting of that. And they don't have to be. Like, that's a harmful ideology of you to think that because you don't want to have something done to you, you get to infringe on everybody else's ability to, because you believe that like your opinion or whatever is superior, or your way of life is more superior, despite everybody else being left in the background. You left everybody else to go to the wayside. That don't make no sense. Of course they're not gonna be nice to you. Like, it don't make no sense. Like, it's so stupid. But to end this whole point of like constructive criticism and like you having to take every single thing that a person says and stuff like that, don't do that. Don't do that, baby. The block button exists for a reason. Now it's time to talk about why some people are weary of the block button and how it kind of got its stigmatism, and why, people kind of deprive themselves of using that as like a tool. I feel like with the rise of like social media and like developing things like parasocial relationships and influencer culture, and like, having these like big name figures that maybe don't have like the same bourgeoisie as like a celebrity, but are still well known to like us anyway, and like subcultures and everything. I think with the rise of that, and obviously like the plethora of controversies that like particularly like YouTubers and like TikTokers and like like Twitch streamers, it's led to this idea of like not being able to like hold people accountable for their actions. We feel like sometimes, by way of like influencers and stuff like that, specifically like block, like like maybe like filtering certain comments, or like blocking people, like from like barring people from like their pages and everything like that, we sometimes feel like there is like no accountability that's like being held and everything like that. Like, you're not, by like having like these times where like you have all these comments that are like filtered, and like you're keeping certain people away from your page to talk about like the things that you've done that have ultimately negatively affected people, or like a group of a community, or like things of that nature, things that you need to be held accountable for. We tend to feel like that's like an easy way to dismiss constructive criticism, right? Like, why won't you talk about this one controversy? I think influencers and like celebrities and things like of that nature getting in themselves into trouble, moral trouble anyway. I think we see more of that like stigmatism of like, you can't just block people, you can't just keep blocking people and keep avoiding the controversy and stuff like that. You have to talk about it eventually. So I think that's one particular reason. Another argument I've seen in my life anyway is when people, again, that level of entitlement where people think that you can't avoid like the opinions of others. Like, everybody's going to have an opinion and stuff like that. And sometimes you're going to have to work with people in your life who you don't particularly agree with, or you don't like what they have to say. And some people feel like if you take advantage of like blocking on social media and stuff like that, you're kind of like escaping your problems. Like, you're not going to engage with the world and stuff like that. You're not going to be a functional adult. You're not going to be, like this one person said, a functional adult who doesn't know how to like take constructive criticism, or like engage with people who are different from them or have different beliefs than them and stuff like that. They think that you're secluding yourself in a way. So if you block certain things and everything like that, you're just doing it to your own detriment. You're not going to allow the opinions of others to like you're not going to think constructively. You're just going to stay in your little bubble, your little hidey hole. The third reason I think people are a little bit like weary of the block button is because I just think there's like a general stigma of like cutting off somebody. There's that stigma of just cutting off somebody like in like your personal life and things like that. Like, how it's just a controversial thing to do. Like, no, obviously nobody likes ending like some type of relationship that you might have to somebody and stuff like that. Like, let's say if you like block your ex on like social media, nobody enjoys that. Like, it's not a good thing in particular, or maybe it might be depending on your circumstance. Like, nobody likes, like, being like a negative Nancy. And I think sometimes, like, we don't treat it with like the utmost respect when it comes to like with blocking people in your personal life and stuff like that, maybe on social media and even sometimes in real life. It gets like its own little kind of like mutual respect. When it comes to blocking strangers over the internet, sometimes people get like a little bit iffy about it. They're like, oh, was it like really that serious? Like, did you really have to block them over that? Like, it seems like over dramatized and everything like that. Some people in some cases also think that you're just not, again, like, you're not accepting, you're not like open to new opinions, or like, you just want to see your nice curated content. Like, you're not open to like different viewpoints and like ways of thinking in life and everything like that. Like, I'll give a really controversial example. I remember there was this time on like TikTok where some people were saying that, like, acknowledging the fact, like making a joke video about like acknowledging the fact that, like, certain girls on their For You pages are like pretty and everything like that. They're like, oh, they're so pretty. And like, they constantly get like on their feed like girls who like are conventionally attractive and like, are like doing like thirst traps or like, just like flaunting, which inherently that's not a bad thing. But what came to be controversial is when people were like, oh yeah, like they're pretty and stuff like that. Block. Like, and the thing is, some people were like split about it. They were like, well, why are you blocking them and stuff like that? And then you start the arguments of like, well, they're just jealous of you. And like, like you just can't accept the fact that there's pretty people in the world and stuff like that. Like, you guys get so fed up and you're not supposed to like dumb down their beauty because you can't handle it and you're insecure and da 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 da. And I'm like, whoa there, partner. Pump the heat brakes, okay? Like, get your horsey under control. All right. Like, I think people really misconstrued that. I think obviously there are the people that are very insecure and obviously translate that into the way maybe they comment and stuff like that, and like are jealous of like certain girls. Like, obviously there's gonna be those people, right? But I think generally, on social media, when people say that they are blocking certain people and stuff like that that are maybe more conventionally attractive or like, like things like that, I generally think the consensus is that some people do it because that's all their feed is full of. After all, social media is curated and the algorithm pushes the things that are more liked, which are conventionally attractive white people and like, people who are like fit the standard of beauty, skinny, no acne, not like, like not of a certain demographic, like, like those. Unfortunately, that's the reality we live in, is where algorithms push those things and unfortunately have some type of bias towards those things. And it's no secret that people on social media feel the need to put out the best version of themselves constantly. So if you don't look like a 10 out of 10 IG baddie, like, the boys aren't going to think you look good. Like, you can't just not like, the reason I like TikTok in particular is because I can show up in any way I want to. I can show up like this one day, or I can show up like a bum. Like, there's no need for formality, right? But on platforms like Instagram, it's clearly a lot different. Like, so it's no secret that people are going to feel insecure or inadequate with themselves and stuff like that. And I don't think for most people it's a reflection of hating or being jealous of somebody else's like success or their beauty and stuff like that. I think it's just we're tired of feeling like we have to be to this standard and stuff. Like, it creates insecurities. That it's literally been studied several times that like teenage girls feel like constantly feeling like they're inadequate because their algorithm pushes things for them to solve their insecurities and like how to dress like the next office siren and how to like fit into this aesthetic and that aesthetic and like the newest trend. And obviously that can take a mental toll on somebody. So I don't think it's a bad thing to block those kinds of things and just curate a feed that you feel like is going to make you more mentally sane. We believe in nuance here, okay? Isn't that crazy? Nuance. obviously you're going to have those people who are obviously insecure and try to project those insecurities onto other people. It's a way of life. It's just the way it is, like, but I think generally with that whole movement and stuff like that, people weren't trying to say, like, this person's bad for being attractive and how dare you, and like, no, sometimes we're just tired of being perfect and pretty, and that's okay. You don't have to subject yourself to that. It doesn't make you bitter, jealous, hateful if you feel the need to block somebody because you feel like it's better for your mental health. And don't let somebody make you feel bad for that, okay? Like, if people are making you feel bad for that, that says more about them than it does you, okay? I'm fully willing to bet that a lot of like celebrities and like influencers and stuff like that use that block button or like filtering comments, for instance, to their advantage, and truly don't want to like hear like what certain like people holding them to like a certain like standard and stuff like that, or don't want to hear like constructive feedback or holding them accountable for certain things. I do think that influencers do take advantage of that, these kinds of like things that like allow people to like bar and block others from like engaging with their stuff and everything like that, because they don't like what they're saying about them and stuff like that. Like, I totally get it. I understand wanting to hold like creators accountable for the things that they've done, the wrongs that they need to make right, and everything like that. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Okay, just want to preface this by saying that. I also don't think it is a bad thing to want people to like hear out your opinion. Okay, I'm not against this idea that we can't have discourse and discussions and things like that. I don't think that that is like a bad thing. I don't think that we should be eliminating every single opinion that people have on planet Earth and stuff like that simply because you don't want to hear it, okay? Nuance exists. I'm not like this willy-nilly saying like don't hold people accountable for their wrongdoings, or like you can't do like constructive analysis on certain things and stuff like that. Obviously, because it's necessary for us to progress in society, we have to listen to each other at some point, right? We can't just disengage with things that we don't like. Obviously, in real life, we're going to engage with people that we aren't exactly fond of, and we still have to treat them like a human being. We still have to treat them with kindness and stuff like that, or at least basic human decency. Like, don't get me wrong, not all of that's not all lost on me. Like, I am, again, nuance and that crazy imagination. Y'all know that gif with SpongeBob and that. Yeah, just imagine me with my face on top of the the SpongeBob like rainbow thing. Nuance. Like, so yeah, like I said, all that stuff's not lost on me. But there's always a but. I do think that we take it sometimes to a level that is like too far and not like humanly possible. Like, we tend to forget that the internet is filled with billions of people, billions of users active every single day. And if you just so happen to be the unlucky person that goes viral for something or whatever that is particularly harmless or something like that, or you're in the public eye as like a certain figure, I don't think it's like acceptable for like I think we forget oftentimes that like having this level of like attention and stuff like that from lots of people can feel like the whole world is looking at you and hates you, essentially, or like it's not normal. Like, we're not meant as humans like on a massive scale to know what like everybody thinks of us, and like like internalize all these comments that like we get from these strangers that we don't even know, because it feels like literally the world is crashing down on us. Like, the whole world, the whole earth doesn't like you. Like, that's billions of people is a big number, and they're all looking at you. That's a crazy thing. No doubt about it. And I think sometimes what we get lost on is the fact that like, we are human beings at the end of the day, right? And we all have feelings. Somebody who's telling you they don't have feelings and stuff like that, or devoid of feelings unless they have some type of like like medical disorder or something. Like, they do. You're lying. You do have feelings. Like, so I wouldn't venture, like, I'm not going to sit here and like blame obviously like people who mean no harm for like blocking somebody who calls them ugly, or like 1,000 people that call them ugly, or like that one comment that says like their art is bad and it's got like 15 million likes or something like that, exaggerating. Or like I'm not gonna like blame somebody for like, disengaging with discourse on somebody who is getting like ratioed in the comments or something like that, and like telling them, oh, this is just my opinion. Like I wouldn't blame you for that, because you're not meant as a human being to take that amount of like, you don't need to know, like at max you maybe know like 15 people in your life, right? That's like it's a pretty decent number. Imagine, oh my gosh, like a million people having an opinion on you, and the spotlight's just on you, and it feels like a million people's a big number, and imagine a million people not liking you. I can understand how that can get like overwhelming. That's not like a good feeling, and I've like experienced that, like even in like in my like, again, like I don't proclaim to be like famous or like what, like, I don't proclaim to any of that or whatever, but I have like a following on TikTok, and whenever one of my videos blows up for something that might be like kind of controversial and stuff, the amount of comments that I've gotten of people like thinking that they like know me and like calling me like a toxic fan for not agreeing with their like Pokemon, like their allegiance to like the Pokemon company and stuff like that, and the direction that the Pokemon games are going, and calling me toxic, and like, that getting like ratioed with 1,000 likes. I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't make me feel good. Like it wouldn't make anybody feel good. Like it's weird, and like I don't blame people for like wanting to like disengage with that, because us as human beings are not meant to take that much criticism of people. I can imagine maybe one or two people disliking me. I can't imagine 1,000 people disliking me. That's partially the reason I don't even look at like my likes and dislikes ratio on like my creators, my creators tab or whatever on YouTube. I don't want to look at that, because seeing 97 people disagree with me on that Hello Kitty video, even though I was being very lenient and like like very like lenient and like nuanced, at least in my belief system and stuff. Like it wasn't meant to be taken serious. That's the whole thing. Like I was just talking about things that I like, and I don't know what it is. Like obviously, I think like I got like it's way more like positively received than it is negatively perceived. But something about seeing those 96 like dislikes, I was like, 96 people dislike me. Like, like, and it's a natural human feeling, and I'm so sick of people not like acknowledging that. It hurts when somebody doesn't say anything nice about you. It does. Like, like, and it doesn't change of the fact whether it's somebody you personally know or like somebody a stranger, somebody who doesn't even know you. Like, I don't blame people for that. So with the utmost nuance possible, obviously we want to hold people accountable and give constructive criticism and stuff like that. But if a million people are watching you, and I get a comment saying to go kiss Yolanda's son or something like that, and it's got like 10 million, it's got like 10 likes, that's mentally distressing. That's distressing. That one comment saying that you're ugly, and like 10,000 people like that. That's why I feel so bad for like those Discord, like there was an era where there was like Discord challenges and stuff like that. Not Discord challenges, but like people like infiltrating like Discord spaces where people shared their face, and they're not like, let's say they're not conventionally attractive, and people would post their face in like cringe compilations. They did it on TikTok, and everybody would be dogging on them. I cannot imagine that as a human being. And obviously they're gonna block you, and they're not, again, like the entitlement to like hear everybody's opinion out. You don't need 10,000 people like commenting on your appearance. That's crazy. 10,000 people not like thinking I'm ugly. Oh, like that's, and it's sad. It's sad, and I don't blame people for wanting to get away from that kind of thing. Sometimes I do give grace to influencers and things like that, especially when it comes to death threats. Like nobody, dude, come on, like that's not, no. As much as I dislike people that say the N-word, please do not go tell them to go. I know some people like to make the argument that because you put yourself out on the internet, you are basically setting yourself up to be criticized and all these like things and stuff like that, which I disagree. Okay, we're all human beings like on this internet. Like nobody signs up to like it, like just because like that's a matter of like how internet culture is, doesn't mean it's a good thing, and it doesn't mean it should continue. Like, you feel me? Like just because like certain harmful like things are like in a culture doesn't make it right. Like it's like just because like somebody puts their face on the internet, I don't think that means like a bunch of people should go and attack them or something like that, or the way that they look or like present themselves, if they're like cringe or like whatever. Like I just think that's like such a dumb and like unrational like thought, to think that like because you put yourself out there and stuff like that, you're deserving of like this kind of thing and stuff like that. Like obviously take precautions and things like that on the internet. Like you want to have some type of precaution of like what if this goes viral, but like genuinely if somebody's not doing anything and is just sharing like their interests, or like that's something that you don't particularly like, and then you feel the need to like dogpile on them, and then you say, well, you put yourself out there. It's like I sometimes want to take people and I want to be like, let's sit down, like get off your computer, sit down with me in a room, and we can argue this out. I don't think they would. Like 90% of the time, I think a lot of people like put on this, a lot of the time people put on like this front that they would say certain things that they say on the internet to people's face, and they wouldn't. They would like freeze in shock. Like a whole other thing is like, people on the internet say things that like they would never say in real life. Like, it's I just think that's such a dumb argument. Even me, I'm very like like a little bit I'm shy. I'm a little bit socially anxious and stuff like that in real life. So the way I present myself, even on these videos and stuff like that, is a little bit more exaggerated. I feel like I can be free. I can feel like I can be free in myself. But like obviously I act a different way when I'm like face to face like with somebody and stuff like that. It's a social code. So I think when people like dumb things down to like, oh, you set yourself up. You shouldn't like I feel like that's such an unnuanced way of like looking at things. You need to change the culture, dude. Like I don't agree with that. I think it's very unnuanced. Also, let's not pretend like if the shoe wasn't on the other foot, you'd be okay. I 1000% think that a lot of people fake the funk and think that they'd be okay. Like, come on. Like be serious. You were not meant to take like 10K comments of people calling you fat and undeserving of love. I don't think like you say it wouldn't bother you, but I truly think it can get to people. It can, and I feel like people who put on a front like it doesn't in some way and stuff like that, or affect them in some way, are lying. But I digress. The reason I really wanted to make this video is just because I am what's known as a recovering keyboard addict. Okay, I am a recovering keyboard warrior. Like since I got access to the internet. Okay, like I was like 11, 12, or whatever, like on my phone and everything like that. I'm sure I said some like really distasteful things. Like it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I would go back and forth with people and stuff like that. I would get so angry and like caught up in my feelings with people being so stupid and like not like having like basic human empathy. Like I hate when people are mean solely to be mean. It just it like irks my skin. I just want to like like that's one thing. You want to know the greatest way to get me to hate you is you being mean to people for absolutely no reason. I despise it. So like things like that would get on my nerves. Like I remember like I just like not even remember because like I said recently I'm recently recovering. Okay, keyboard warrior. Like I would get so angry and like fed up with these people. Like how can you have such poor morals? How can you like be such a deplorable human being? How can you do this? How can you like that? How can you have this opinion? How like you just and then you get into these arguments with people like for the longest time and stuff like that, going back and forth, waiting for the reply, your heart pounding when like they reply finally and they see some bullshit. Like I've lived 1,000 lives with that kind of experience, like arguing with people on the internet. I've had my fair share. And I think the reason I in particular do this, and a lot of people do this, or like feel the need to like go back and forth with people on the internet sometimes, is it's a pride thing. You tend to like feel like if I can get the last word in, that means I'm right and they're stupid. I also think to myself sometimes that you feel like you're sometimes fighting like the good fight, right? Especially when it comes to like political discourse and like social issues and things like that. When you're arguing with that one dude who doesn't view like women as like human beings, you're like you feel like a sense of like moral justice to tell somebody how stupid they're being. Like, how can you be so heartless and so cruel to like other people's issues and stuff like that and be so selfish? Like you feel like a sense of morality to let people know. Like it feels good. Some people it's like a again, it's like a pride thing or just like a I feel good. Like I'm the one who's right. I also think it's another factor. It's humans. Humans are stubborn. Humans like to argue. We're just inherently argumentative creatures and like you just feel like the need to like go after each other sometimes. It's just the fact of the matter. We're just imperfect people. And I think the way I kind of like look at my circumstances now when thinking about like arguing with somebody before I block them and everything is I kind of look at it this way. Here's the truth. They do not care. Okay? Like these people like you are arguing with and stuff like that. Sometimes it's like beating a dead horse and talking to a brick wall. Some people just don't care because they think they're right. Some people don't care because they've made up their mind and there's no way you're going to change it. Okay? There's just some people like that there's just people like that on the internet. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do or nothing you can say to make them care anymore. They've already decided you're wrong. Now you're just wasting your time. All right. And there's no sense in arguing with somebody who doesn't want to, be open to another like point of view and things like that. Obviously, like there's no point in like engaging with that kind of discourse. Some people are just going to be people. People are going to be people, and unfortunately. And you have to learn that and you have to accept that. I try my best to think about it in situations where I'm like, like, is it going to turn out the way I think it's going to? Probably not. Like it's just never worth it. It's not worth the hassle, it's not worth the time. Sometimes you also have to accept the fact that there are just bad human beings in this world. There are just some people who are deplorable people in this world, and there's nothing you can do about it other than distance yourself. And you might be holding your high expectations a little bit too high for bad people to come down to a level that you're on, right? You might be expecting too much from people. Not all common sense is common to treat others with the golden rule and be nice and stuff like that. Some people are just mean. Some people are just mean, and it sucks. And it's a fact of life. And the sooner you accept this, the sooner you will take your hand off the keyboard and just get that mouse and just slam it and press that ellipses and block them. Like the sooner you accept that and like try to not take it personal. I think that's another thing I do is I sometimes like the insults that like people like say to me and stuff like that when I would get into like internet arguments and everything or like comment thread arguments is like you feel like you take it personal a little bit. I've noticed. At least I'm willing to admit it. I would take it personal. I'd be like, "How dare you? Like I'm not ugly. I'm not this. I'm not that. You don't even know me." Like, you get it feels personal. It feels like a slight against you. And what you have to remember is this is a stranger. They don't know you. They're all the way in like Thailand and they're calling you a mutt. Like you don't have to take that. Like, you'll probably never meet this person ever in your life. Like, you don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Some people are just people. Recognize they don't care. People are people. People are stubborn and they like getting into arguments. They don't care. Okay? You're beating a dead horse. You're talking to the wall and you're setting your expectations too high. And sometimes there are just bad people in this world. And the most important rule of all, they are a stranger. They're Pookie. You'll never know them in your life. You'll never know them, Pookie. Most likely, you will never get to see them. Okay? Why waste any more brain cells or brain matter into thinking about what the they think about you? Don't get me wrong. Again, I said I'm recovering. I'm recovering. Uh, it's hard. It's hard to like, distance yourself from that because you're like stuck on it. Like you're like, oh, they're just so stupid. I need to let them know that they're stupid. But I just beg you to think to yourself for a second, is this conversation going to benefit you in the end? Most likely will not. Are you going to change the person's mind in the end? You most likely won't. Do you know this person in real life and do they have any effect on your personal relationships, your career, and ultimately the way you live your life? Also, no. If you just answer those questions for yourself, is it worth it? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think you could be spending your time elsewhere, like getting off the internet, You know, go walking your pooch, your nice little dog, maybe a cat, a little gerbil. Don't you think you could maybe be working on that drawing you've been like skipping out on? Go take a Polaroid picture, you know? Something like read a book. You know, anything better than letting this person like take up your space. Like your time is precious on this planet. We're not always promised tomorrow. Okay? Your time is precious. Don't let other people waste it. And that includes on the internet. I'd like to end this by saying two things. There is one philosophy I try to live by now when it comes to getting into arguments and stuff like that with people, or like internalizing certain comments or content I don't like, or people I don't like, right, on the internet. Treat it like you would in real life. Roll your eyes and look the other way. Okay? Obviously, there's a time and a place to hold people accountable, obviously. But with majority of things, some things you just gotta roll your eyes and walk away. Okay? It's set aside your pride, your social justice, your inner social justice warrior, your keyboard warrior, whatever it is, you know. Put that stitch down. Don't stitch that one TikToker that said that stupid BS about, like, you know, fasting or something. I don't know. Like, put it down. Put it down. All right. And just realize that the block button is there for a reason. It is there to bar you from seeing people who engage in really stupid rhetoric. Like you can't beat it. It's like one of the best options you have. I promise you. Honestly, I feel like the example and the diva of not taking crap from anybody and really uses the block button as a tool. I think the person that is like most known for this is like the developer of the game Bayonetta. Like, that dude does not care. Like, I've heard so many stories of like that man being on like his Twitter and stuff like that, and people saying like the most like asinine things to him and stuff like that. And you know, he's a game developer. Of course, he has to take like a bunch of critiques and things like that for his games to be better. But what I think is so interesting about him in particular is he just blocks anything, like anything and anybody. Like, if he doesn't like what you have to say, he blocks it. Like, he blocks you, like, you know. And I think that's a philosophy a lot of us need to adopt into our lives. Obviously, with maybe like a little, like, I'm sure the dude has his own nuances and things like that. But like, you know, I think we need to put that kind of philosophy into practice, where we treat, honestly, sometimes the internet like we do real life, where we hear the things that we want to hear, right? You know, we take the criticisms that need to be heard and are actually valuable, right? Okay. And then we discard the garbage that doesn't have pertain to our lives, and we don't need that negative energy. So, to end this video, I say be more like Bayonetta's creator. Okay. With that being said, I will go ahead and conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, let me know, and, like, you know, comment below. Like, this your first rant? This your first rodeo? Alright. But let me know what you think. Did you agree? Did you not agree? What's going on? I want to pick your brain a little bit. So definitely let me know what you think. It unfortunately is like the end of February, and actually it's like, at the time I'm recording this is like February 27th, and I don't know if I'm going to post this by my birthday or not, which is February 28th. I'm currently on like a vacation for the rest of the week, so I've been working on like making this video and then also putting out a new part of Hotel Dusk and everything, since we haven't played it in a little bit. I definitely need to catch up with that. I'm trying to work back into doing like a 1 week video week schedule. Can't say it will happen, but I'm trying. I'm really trying my best. Like always, I have a bunch of ideas for videos and everything like that. If there's a subject you want me to cover in my rant series, just let me know. I'm totally open to like suggestions and everything like that, if I can speak to the subject or whatever, you know? So I definitely have a couple of other videos in my arsenal and everything like that. I think having a script kind of made this a little bit easier. I just kind of looked down and yeah. But anyways, that's gonna conclude the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.